welcome back to another episode of my so-called Xennial life. This is my second try at this video about Miss Cleo because I actually filmed almost 20 minutes of footage using my cell phone, and not only did it look crappy, it sounded crappy. I begin to see that my cell phone isn't perfect, and while my computer's imagery isn't the best because as you see the lighting, I figured this is much better than my phone, which has just been giving me nothing but issues anyway. My so-called Xennial life, take two. Well, with just a couple days before Christmas, I wanted to do this episode because recently on HBO Max was release of a documentary called Call Me Miss Cleo, and I wanted to do an episode about it because, well, I remember her very well.
Don't you really want to know?
Okay, I was wondering who the father of my baby was.
All right, let's take a look. The Miss Cleo DNA test. I'm solely searching for the father of your baby. Oh, it's the one that's very unpleasant, okay?
Okay.
And he's also the one that had another girlfriend while he was sleeping with you.
Yes, he did.
Yep, that's him. That's the daddy.
Okay.
But you knew that.
I wasn't sure.
I don't know how. The baby looked just like him.
Yes, he does.
Yeah, so you were in denial because he has a funny little chin, doesn't he?
Yes, he does.
Yeah, and the baby have that same little chin.
Oh my God. Ooh.
The cards can reveal things that you will never see by yourself. Call me now for your free tarot reading.
Call 1-800-980-8637.
Now, before I get into my personal experience remembering Miss Cleo, let me give you a little bit of tidbits about her. Her real name was Youree Dell Harris, who I might be mispronouncing. She was an American television personality and actress, best known for portraying Miss Cleo, a spokeswoman for a psychic pay-per-view call service called Psychic Readers Network, in a series of television commercials that aired from 1997 to 2003. So it would have been, I would have been ages 18 to 24. Harris used various aliases, including Cleo Mel Harris and Youree Parrot. So yes, she was mostly known for being a tarot card reader, and also kind of well known for her thick Jamaican accent, which I will talk about later. That was, well, fake. But I used to love watching those infomercials. Like, I've never called a psychic hotline. For one thing, I knew that they were incredibly expensive. I think 10 minutes back then would have been like $50 back then, which if you adjust it for inflation is probably a lot higher, maybe a couple hundred. Those things were not cheap. But I did enjoy watching the shows. Part of the reason is, like, she first came about when I was 18, and I have relayed in the past that I did suffer from depression, and watching her kind of gave me this sense of hope because, you know, the mysticism and aspect and the idea that gave me this idea that there's more to this world than this sucky existence. So I did like watching her a lot. You know, because Miss Cleo had, besides a bubbling personality, and was really, you know, she was just, like, she would be someone that you would just love to hang out with because she just seems to have, like, this great overpowering personality, very compassionate, funny, and stuff like that. So watching her, and besides getting some of these funny storylines with people like, you know, paternity tests and stuff like that, it's almost like watching Jerry Springer, Maury Povich back then, except with a psychic.
Who asked you to go out of town? The stupid young one or the married one?
The married one.
That's what I thought. Don't go, you hear me?
Hmm.
And you know what? You're not listening to me because I see you going. I see you going. I'm just telling you, I'm trying to help you to avoid the heartache.
Like I said, it kind of gave me the sense that there's more to this dead, dreary world. You know, like I said, there was many, when I was suffering from depression, and kind of still do suffer from it, you just don't get rid of it. There was a lot of things I did to cope with it besides, you know, certain music, video games, walking. I kind of was drawn to sort of mysticism, witchcraft, and stuff like that, and having nice, kind pets. So watching her kind of gave me the sense that he's in his box now. He loves his box. Gave me this sense that, there's got to be something more to this world. Maybe it will be okay in the end. And, you know, her messages were often very positive. She was about, you know, being good to other people, being good to yourself, being one with the divine and stuff like that. Now, back then, I was more convinced that psychics were real, and she was really convincing. I don't know the ins and outs behind it, but I know a lot of psychics, especially the ones she was from her network, were actually bogus. I learned from the documentary that most of them were just reading a script, and she seemed to be really, accurate. I don't know if she was being fed this information or really she was. Nowadays, as a older man, I'm super skeptical of psychics. I still try to say be open-minded. There's been one or two psychics that I've met in my life that gave me pause and I'll be like, maybe they have something going on. The vast majority of them are just a load of crap, including some that you've seen on TV. What was it? Sylvia Brown, I think, was one with her nails. She was really just bogus. Miss Cleo, I don't know. I wondered, and one thing I learned from the documentary, she believed in what she could do, so I give her kudos for that. And and I don't think she was being bogus, but I don't know. I don't know what went on behind the scenes more with her personally. Of course, you can't talk about Miss Cleo unless you talk about her accent. As I've learned later on, and I do remember when the Psychic Readers Network and Miss Cleo got in trouble, I remember one of the things I remember hearing was that she wasn't from Jamaica and her accent was bogus. I do believe, from what I've read, though there's some discrepancies, that she was born in California, Los Angeles, I will say. It wasn't like she was having this over the top personality as an act, but she was like really creating a whole backdrop and a whole different character that wasn't her. So makes you think, if she's lying about that, is she lying about other things?
You would have thought she would have seen this coming, but Miss Cleo is in big trouble. The state of Florida is trying to force her to prove she's really psychic.
Call me now for a free reading to be sure you're right.
You know Miss Cleo. She's the best-known telephone psychic in the world. She's all over late-night TV.
And he's the one with the bad temper.
But the state of Florida just sent her a love note.
A special Valentine. It's called a civil complaint.
And what is your last name?
That I'm not going to share with anybody at this point in time.
Investigators in Florida have identified Miss Cleo as Youree Harris. Fox News recently caught up with her in a supermarket down there. She told us that she's just a hired hand making less than $70,000 a year. Nonetheless, the state of Florida says she and the Psychic Readers Network lured callers into long and expensive phone calls.
Those so-called free 3-minute calls are routinely transformed into lengthy discussions costing $100 or more.
Among other things, her company's accused of lying to callers. Miss Cleo and the others aren't really psychics, and that's at the crux of this lawsuit. She may have to back up her claims in court, or else.
And if that's not the case, my psychic reading says she's going to jail or she's going to be facing heavy penalties.
Do I believe she's psychic? I'm questioning. I'm leaning more towards no because of all her involvement with this bogus network. But maybe I'm wrong. I'd be the first one to admit that I'm wrong. In many ways, I'm hoping I am wrong. I would like to think that there are people with this sort of ability to help use mysticism to help everybody in the world. My experiment with my so-called Xennial life has now reached over a year, and it's been a fun time. I'm still having a lot of fun doing it. I'm not releasing as many. I don't get the views. I hardly get any views. The last episode I did with about Alf, I thought would do very well, and it hasn't. It's only done like 40 views, which is fine, but I'm not inclined to constantly make new content. So I'm only doing it when there's something I want to talk about. So anyway, like, subscribe, and share, and tell me more if anybody who's watching this wants to tell me about their experiences, whether you called her or not, or how you view her back then. Write in the comments, and see you all in 2023 on another episode of My So-Called Xennial Life.